Greetings to everyone. Today we are going to watch a video titled "The UN was stunned. J.D. Vance stood up for Russia and exposed the brazen Baerbock." Annalena Baerbock is known for her Russophobic statements. She is always finding something wrong with Russia, something is always off with it. Well, let's listen to how J.D. Vance responded to such statements.
Annalena Baerbock, the failed German foreign minister, wants to head the UN General Assembly. But a person stood in her way, someone who exposed the brazen German woman, and that person was J.D. Vance. In this video, we will tell you how Vance exposed Baerbock down to the smallest details and why her candidacy is turning Germany into an international laughingstock. We'll talk about this and more in this video, so make yourselves comfortable and let's get started. Annalena Baerbock appeared at the UN General Assembly podium under the slogan "Better Together," presenting her vision and bid for the chairmanship. This was supposed to be her moment of triumph, a stage for her global moralizing sermon. But what was presented as a message of peace quickly turned into an ideological attack. Baerbock spoke about 120 armed conflicts in the world and called for greater efficiency, greater representation, and a stronger focus on the future. Sounds good, doesn't it? But the devil is in the details. Behind the resounding words was the same moralizing tone that had permeated her entire tenure. Not a word about the failures of Western policy, not the slightest admission of their own mistakes. Instead, a wagging finger pointed at Russia, China, and anything that doesn't fit her transatlantic agenda. Meanwhile,
And in this world, there are simply two opinions, Baerbock's opinion and the wrong one. That's what their diplomacy is built on.
the German media applauded while storm clouds gathered on the international stage. Baerbock ignored diplomatic protocol and used the UN platform for her own political ambitions. The response was not long in coming. The Russian delegation struck back with words that Berlin would have preferred not to hear. She was accused of bias, provocation, and diplomatic incompetence. What was especially outrageous was her call to exclude Russia and Belarus from the event marking the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, a historical low blow. Russia does not see Baerbock as a mediator, it sees her as a divider, and they are voicing what?
I think they see her as an even worse figure. It's just that the author of the video is being quite diplomatic here.
Many believe this woman threatens world peace because she considers morality a substitute for diplomacy. But in Berlin, there is a loud silence, criticism is dismissed. But the fact remains, more and more countries are realizing the true nature of her candidacy. The global south, countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America do not see her as a neutral moderator, but only as a politician fixated on ideology. Pro-American, pro-Israeli, anti-Russian, anti-Chinese. With such an agenda, she threatens the fragile balance between North and South. UN diplomats are sounding the alarm. With Baerbock, Germany is risking its ambition to secure a permanent seat on the Security Council. But then a person appears who instills fear in Baerbock. J.D. Vance, U.S. Senator and close ally of Donald Trump. He has no patience for European hypocrisy. He dropped a bombshell sharply criticizing the German government for systematically excluding Alternative for Germany, the largest opposition party. AfD voters deserve to be heard. That is what democracy is, said JD. And he went even further. He said that the German government and the Office for the Protection of the Constitution label AfD as a far-right force in order to make it invisible. In a democratic society, all voices should be heard, left, right. It doesn't matter. AfD was once again excluded from the Munich Security Conference, but Vance ignored this and demonstrated, you can't ban the truth. And then came the climax. On the eve of Baerbock's application to the UN, Vance met with her to discuss Russia. The Trump administration, relying on diplomacy and pragmatism, is doing everything to achieve peace with Russia. Just last week, Trump and Putin had a phone conversation, a step that Baerbock dismissed as a so-called peace. But what does this so-called peace even mean? Vance was not willing to tolerate this. He accused Baerbock of restricting freedom of opinion in Europe and of threatening peace because of her belligerent rhetoric. Baerbock countered by speaking about Europe's capable democracy. In her eyes, the main enemy is Russia, not the isolation of parties like the AfD. But Vance did not give in. He exposed her double standards. How can you talk about democracy while ignoring millions of voters? Baerbock's candidacy for the UN has been torn to shreds, and Vance is the one who brought the truth to light. Outrage is growing in the United States. How can Annalena Baerbock, who is absolutely incompetent diplomatically, seriously claim a post at the UN? The Republicans just shake their heads. Baerbock is supposed to represent Germany, but she does not speak on behalf of the German people. After all, the citizens of our country have long voted for a conservative shift, for a clear policy in Germany's interests, not for green ideology and amateurish foreign policy. Baerbock is just as unfit to lead the UN as she is to serve as foreign minister. This is obvious to anyone who isn't closing their eyes. But things are getting even worse. A real scandal is unfolding behind the scenes at the UN. The experienced diplomat Helga Schmid, who has worked in international organizations for decades, had already been nominated for the top post, but Baerbock pushed her aside. Why? Because she wanted to be in the spotlight herself. The diplomat Christoph Heusgen called this shameless. Baerbock took the leadership position on her own initiative without coordination or support. It was a deliberate act of self-empowerment.
Looking ahead a bit, Baerbock did end up getting the position. She is now the president of the UN General Assembly. So, unfortunately, our diplomats have to deal with a person like this.
The UN has turned into a stage for Baerbock's party ego trip. Germany has become a laughingstock. Helga Schmid, a respected figure worldwide, was sacrificed because she stood in the way of Baerbock's ambitions. This is not a mistake, it's a strategy. And it proves Baerbock does not represent Germany but only herself. While her nomination is being celebrated in Berlin and Brussels, resistance is growing in the countries of the global south. The states of Africa, Asia, and Latin America see behind the facade. They understand Baerbock is not a neutral mediator, but a blinkered ideologue with clear enemies. Her agenda threatens the authority of the UN. Diplomats warn with Baerbock, Germany risks its international reputation and its dream of a seat on the Security Council. Her moralizing sermons are a slap in the face to countries that have endured Western tutelage for many years. Germany, once a beacon of diplomacy, has become an object of ridicule. There is only one force in Germany that calls things by their proper names. That is the alternative for Germany. For many years now, the AfD has been warning about the self-destruction of German diplomacy. It advocates for a sober, rational foreign policy that prioritizes national interests over ideological dreams. 55% of Germans reject Baerbock's candidacy, according to the latest polls. But their voices are ignored by the media, parties, and elites who label any criticism as hate speech. But the silent majority is becoming increasingly louder. It is beginning to speak, to ask questions, and to take action. The damage caused by Baerbock is real but not irreversible. For this, it takes courage to speak the truth. And Vance did just that, unafraid of anyone. He exposed Baerbock and the world saw it.
Well, that's the kind of video we've just watched together, and I recommend you check out these videos. Like, subscribe, and goodbye to everyone.